The AFC champion, hometown Cincinnati Bengals, go with Daxton Hill, the corner/safety out of Michigan. So we'll figure out where exactly does Dax Hill play. But I know you liked him as a corner in your evaluation. A lot of people had him as a safety. Either way, I think the Bengals are adding a very versatile piece to their secondary. Guy who graded really well, moves really well, just solid all-around player.
Yeah, there's a couple of players in this draft that primarily played as slot corners that were being projected to safety at the next level. And some people, I think, differed on whether or not that was the case. Daxton Hill, to me, is a guy who played slot corner for Michigan last season and looks like a slot corner to me. I don't really see why you would automatically project him to safety. Not that he couldn't do it, but I think he's a really good slot corner, and I wouldn't mess with that. Now, Cincinnati already has a really good slot corner. They've got Mike Hilton, who's a high-end slot cornerback for them. So I would assume, simply based on that he ends up becoming a safety for them. Now, you look at that and you say, well, they've also got safeties. They've got Jesse Bates, who they franchise tagged. They got Von Bell still there. So it's not an immediate obvious need that he play safety either. But maybe they've been kind of stalling on the Jesse Bates contract thing for a while. Maybe they don't want to give Jesse Bates a long-term contract, given his play has been a little bit inconsistent at times. And maybe Daxton Hill becomes a long-term replacement. But either way, for him specifically, I think he's just a really good, feisty playmaker in a secondary that will make plays for you and be a really important coverage player.
Two things that stand out then in this conversation for me. Is this going to be the hallmark of the Bengals defense, right? Because the second to last time that we saw them, AFC Championship against the Kansas City Chiefs, a defense that just completely morphed what they were doing. Are they becoming more of a game plan oriented defense with versatility? And that's what they have on the back end with a guy like Daxton Hill. The other thing is the Bengals have a really good roster so that they can just take good players and figure out what they're going to do with them later. Look, it's not perfect across the board. Like, they have other holes and stuff, but playmakers are looking good. They've done a lot of great work on the offensive line. They've built their defensive line and linebacking core. They were able, I think, to make a pick. A lot of people pegged them to take a corner, take somebody in the secondary, but they have built a roster that's good enough to say, let's draft Daxton Hill, figure out where he fits in, and I also do think schematically, defensively, they do want to add this versatility.
Yeah, we've been a lot of people were giving them cornerbacks, a lot of people were giving them defensive line depth, but they have very quickly assembled this roster that doesn't have like these glaring acute needs anymore. And you're going to end up taking a player like a Daxton Hill who doesn't immediately fit in a position where you're like, oh yeah, that was an obvious hole they needed to take. They had to fill that. You could argue the one remaining spot on the offensive line, that still needs to be filled, but whatever. They've reached this point where they're going to end up signing or drafting these players, and they are going to be for the future, or they're going to be part of a rotation or a different look within that group. And Daxton Hill, I think, has the kind of capacity to play in a bunch of different spots throughout that back seven, and maybe he takes a little bit of time or only appears in certain packages, but he's a legit playmaker that will help that defense.
When you talk about playing slot in college, there's some man-to-man when you're playing in the slot. There's a whole lot of underneath the zone, though. There's a whole lot of curl flat and keep the ball in front of you, but he plays that extremely well. He played the run well in that role, and he ran a sub 440. You don't see that a ton at safety, and he flies around the football field. So there's a lot to like through that lens.
Yeah, he's got the sub 4.4 speed, but he's also got the quickness as well. And he's sort of low to the ground. That's why he struck me as a slot corner at the next level, because he had that combination of speed and quickness that those slot guys need to have to be able to defend those two-way goes and to quickly change direction and play those underneath zones and those kinds of things. It's applicable to safety as well. So, it still works in any role he's given, but that's why I would have kept him as a slot corner.
So if you're going to move him to safety, he did most of his work, again, in underneath zone. If he's going to play deep safety, there's a bit of a projection there, but it's the type of position where that happens. So can't wait to see what the Bengals have in Daxton Hill, but I think you got some versatility, athleticism, graded well. You got the production there as well, so the Bengals just add versatility to the secondary.